Okay, we are live. Welcome to the Baron Von Video Livecast, where we talk about storytelling, filmmaking, and science fiction. And once in a while, we'll talk about some future tech and things that could affect the future. So today we're going to talk about some what I consider criminally underseen science fiction films, and we're going to go through the 50s all the way to the 90s. I think we have more for the 2000s and the 2010s, but I don't think that's going to fit in this one episode. So anyway, my guest today is a returning Anthony Lopez. He's also a video producer and an aspiring filmmaker, and I'm gonna get his impressions on what I think are the most underseen, and if he's got some ones that I've missed, I'm sure he'll chime in. So, Anthony, welcome, sir.
Hello, Baron and everyone. How are you?
Oh, very good, very good, sir. I wanted it to, since I blew the last live cast and didn't hit the live button for about 20 minutes in.
Wait, what?
I
No, I know. I know.
yeah, I forgot that. I thought we'd do it like a kind of a quick recap of our last one because I wanted to make the point might have gotten lost on the tail end of that live cast, and I think it's a good intro to getting into these films anyway.
Sure.
So we talked about how Star Trek, Star Wars, and all the Marvel movies kind of soured the public's perception of science fiction. On the one hand, was a very big inspiration for a lot of science fiction fans, but the fact that they just kept going and going and going with it seemed to kind of run its course. It for me, it stopped being about telling a really good story and more about just milking the franchise. Now
Right.
I know you said you kind of have a soft spot in your heart for the Star Wars movies, but I think
I mean,
you would still agree that they kind of they've cut that whole storyline probably should just be put to bed and somebody come up with something new.
right. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I love the MCU. I even love, this is something we didn't talk about, is the DC films,
Yeah.
you know. But no, I would totally agree with that. I mean, I don't think what I appreciate about Star Wars is the notion that he had an idea and he had this concept of a series already in place. So that I kind of appreciate. That's something that I like, and that's something that I have kind of done in my own personal storytelling is if I'm going to do, like a trilogy or a series of something, my thing is to have it all planned out and mapped out so that this actually justifies the trilogy or whatever type of series I'm trying to produce or create. So for me, like, I don't wait, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just threw you up.
I just saw me and I'm like,
Threw you
whoa. Yeah, so that's my whole thing. Like, I am definitely not a um I get what you're saying, that it's soured kind of the mainstream appeal and or at least not appeal, but like the thinking surrounding science fiction. And I do agree with some of those points, and I think those are valid points. But one of the things we didn't talk about last time that I kind of was thinking about before I hopped on here today was the idea that even though Star Wars specifically sort of like wraps itself in this like really fun, like space opera kind of, romantic action adventure kind of frame, I think at its core, it still has a lot of those science fiction themes. Like if you really dig and kind of, it still has something to say about society, still has something to say about politics and different things. And so there's still a little bit of that there. I think it's just diluted. And I think that's kind of where the divergence kind of happened with what people think of as like hardcore science fiction versus like, oh yeah, science fiction. Like if you just ask somebody on the street, right? Like, what's a good science fiction film? They'll probably say, oh, Men in Black, or something, right? Like something that's like this fun, like, which there's nothing, I have
Yeah.
nothing against those types of movies. It's just like, um, there's, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird, I feel like we're kind of missing a little bit of that more highbrow, maybe not highbrow, but I don't know, save me. My words are
No, I
failing
know
me.
what you mean. There, yeah, there's we're talking in broad terms about
Yeah,
good storytelling. A good story can be any genre, any subject, any whatever. If it's a good story, it's a good story. And
right,
part of my issue with the three big franchises is for me, it wasn't like none of the stories were bad, and practically all of the films were at least enjoyable to watch. It's just that
right,
when you repeat something over and over and over, as a real super science fiction fan, it's not about how hardcore the science fiction theme is. It's more about I just wish that the public was subjected to more, uh, uh, you know, some more thoughtful science fiction films instead of
right,
the dominance of those other films. And again, what people think about science fiction when they do,
right.
to me, it kind of kind of taints it for the public, as if we've talked about this before. If they only knew some of the fantastic stories that
Right.
could be adapted, and they don't all need to be $200 million
Yeah,
blockbusters to be good films,
exactly.
and good stories and good science fiction stories that are about the ideas, not just the world, you know.
Right. Yeah, and there's a larger thing to be said about that too. I think just movies in general have had this weird uh like obsession with big budgets and then like trying to be the next big hit and then
Yeah.
they utterly fail and then it's like, oh yeah. And then uh like saying like, oh, whatever we worked, oh, that didn't work. Let's work on something else. Let's just throw everything out, right? Like and but sometimes a lot of those things can work. It just doesn't have the right type of budget. Like if you're throwing too much money at it to something that is more niche or for a smaller audience, you can't expect it to be have big returns, right? Like so that's just not realistic. So no, I totally agree. I think let's just say this. So public perception of science fiction these days, and maybe even probably going back to when I was a kid, like in the 90s, was big budget summer blockbuster. I mean that was always like
Oh,
when I was
really?
growing up, right? Like that was like science fiction, at least at that time. And I think obviously like Star Wars and Star Trek kind of helped propel that like in the 70s and 80s and stuff. So um yeah, no, I totally get that. So where where do we see like science fiction going now then in terms of we talked a little bit about some films. Um, let's get more into that. Like, where are some really good like science fiction films that like we know that if you talk to like a lot of people that I talk to sometimes don't even understand like, oh, okay, this is a movie that came out. Like, oh yeah, it's actually really good, right? Like, so let's kind of go through your list and see if there's obviously we can kind of touch on like the big kind of films. But then also like I'm sure you have like some smaller ones that we were
Yeah. I might touch on in a way I have two lists. One for films that my perception, it may not always be the case, but that
Mhm.
many people may have heard of some of these films, but I ask a lot of people, and I'm always surprised at how many people haven't actually seen the movie.
Right.
They've heard of it and they've heard that it's really good, but they haven't actually seen it. So
Right.
I'm trying to give an extra push to some of those ones that I consider really good, and in some cases not great, but very worth seeing, no matter what the time frame. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're
Flawed,
going to start off with the
flawed masterpieces.
the 50s. Yeah, they're not always masterpieces, but there were. I mean,
But there's
very few
something
masterpieces. And
right.
I personally don't consider 2001 to be a masterpiece. I think it was a masterpiece of visual extravaganza, right? I mean, it,
Yeah.
it was just phenomenal. And I saw it in the theaters when I was about, 11 years old or whatever, however old I was.
Nice.
And yeah, it just completely blew my mind. But
Yeah.
having seen it many times since, it's a little boring in spots. I mean, not real boring, not to the point where you're just like, okay, come on, because the imagery was just so powerful. It was an
Right.
experience,
Yeah.
and that's what I most give it credit for, as an experience. But I
Well,
would come a little bit shy of calling it a masterpiece, because as an experience now, seeing it many times, I keep
mm,
coming away with, wow, that was definitely, really outstanding, groundbreaking, et cetera, et cetera. But man, that movie stretched in spots for,
right,
for
right,
me.
right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was somebody who I'm trying to remember where I heard this, but like the original term masterpiece, where that comes from, I think is from the Greeks, right? Where it's like where when you basically completed your class, your studies, you would create like, kind of like when we're going through college, you have like a thesis project or
Hmm.
whatever, or you write your thesis paper or whatever. That was technically their masterpiece, to show that like, oh yeah, we know how to do this one thing. And so like, I guess I'm meaning it in more of that sense rather than like, you know, best piece of, because I agree. Like 2001 is pretty slow. I remember when I first saw it, it was actually my dad was like, oh, we should watch this. And I was like 11 or 12 or something. But of course we watched it at home on DVD at that time. And yeah, I was bored out of my mind. But like I woke up, it was funny because I fell asleep and then I woke up during the ending sequence with like the crazy, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? Like, this is insane. And you watch that for like 20 minutes or whatever. And then you get to the end and then he's like in the room, the white room. And then he's got the monolith. And then it ends with him, like, I guess, turning into the star child. And so it was like a really intense ending. So then I was like, what the hell? Like, I got to rewatch this because what the hell happened from like, you get, the beginning with like the apes and stuff all the way to the end with that. And you're like, geez, this must be some kind of profound like film. And so I remember years later, I rewatched it and I really loved it. But yeah, again, it's not one of those films that you can just be like, oh yeah, let's pop it in and enjoy this movie, right? Like you kind of have to get into like a right mindset. And like I've tried to show my kids the film now, and it's just like, it's hard, especially now with like their broken attention spans. It's kind of like, oh
Well,
man,
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
and
of
and
stuff
and
to
again,
ruin.
yeah.
But
I liken it to the Star Wars at the time. You'd never seen anything like it.
right,
Same thing, Jurassic Park, first time you'd ever seen
Jurassic Park,
dinosaurs
yeah.
like that, because the movie is not not anywhere close to what a Spielberg's best, but it had that.
Really? I don't know. I disagree. I just recently rewatched it. We went through the whole series actually, and I love it, man. I still love Jurassic Park. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. Like And that's one I failed to mention last time. I wanted to mention. I was like, oh right, that's great. That's like one of the, I think, best, this is my opinion, and like I said, you probably totally disagree, but like I think it's one of the best like examples of like having some real science in mixed in with like the real high tension like horror adventure kind of, you know, survival aspects of the genre that you don't really see a lot. I don't think, anyway. Maybe you could prove me wrong, but
Yeah,
trying to think of other like survival horror, you know, science fiction types of movies that I know Alien would kind of be one of those, but I think it's less like about the science. I'm trying to remember if there's much of anything in there about like um you
in
know, I know
Alien.
we, yeah, an Alien, and we kind of talked about Event Horizon was another one, which was leaning more into sort of the horror, you know, cosmic horror elements, which I kind of like too, but again, maybe that's not strictly, you know, science fiction, but
Yeah, yeah. To me, the distinction, you know, in Alien, the entire premise was, you know, just like in all good science fiction, you know, what if, right? What if
mm-hmm.
we actually brought this alien aboard and it was really fucking alien, you know?
Right.
And I thought they did that really well. That you can only do that as a science fiction movie. The Jurassic Park picture for me was, I mean, you know, I totally enjoyed it and had a blast at the theater. Again, it's one of those really, really fun movies, and the spectacle of seeing those, you know, that Tyrannosaurus chasing Jeff Goldblum in the Jeep, you know, was just, you
Yeah.
know, breathtaking.
Right.
But the science happened very early on, and then to me, it became a monster movie, which I love a good monster movie, right? Alien
Yeah.
is almost a monster movie, you know.
I mean, it is.
But it's just I guess the way it was portrayed, it became, you know, again, Jurassic Park became nothing but a an action adventure. Nothing wrong with that, but I just don't consider the movie, some of the, I don't know. I just thought some of the writing and some of the plots and whatnot were just not real strong. Still, again, very very enjoyable movie and all that, but you know, when you put it up against, you know, some other you know, movies that you and I think would both agree are excellent examples of science fiction movies. I, for one, wouldn't put that one on there. It's good, you know. I, you know, 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I would.
Yeah, you would. Okay,
I
okay.
would. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
see
I
it.
would for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
let's start going through some of these
okay.
things
Yeah, let's do
before
it.
we get, you know, too far into it, and then as things come up, yeah, maybe that'll remind you of certain things.
All
I'm
right.
anxious to
Cool.
hear actually if you think I've left some of these off. So we'll start with the 50s. You know, I don't have a lot in these earlys, the 50s and 60s. I only have a small handful. But you know, in the 50s, of course, the biggies that I think have been seen pretty widely were the War of the Worlds, you know, the original, and
Right.
the Time Machine, you know, with
Right.
Rock Hudson. You know, those two I think are, you know, pretty well regarded and pretty well viewed. I think that's my sense of it. But some other ones that people have heard of, I don't know if a lot of people. You tell me.
Oh, Rod Taylor. Sorry.
I'm gonna put up this.
From Time Machine, because I think you said Rock Hudson, but it's Rod Taylor.
Oh, Rod Taylor. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no worries. I remember. Yeah, yeah. I mean, or sorry, Time Machine is a pretty big one. I remember for me, because I remember it was either was it middle school or high school? We read the book and then
Oh
watched the
yeah,
movie.
cool.
So I remember, yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah, and I consider both of those, you know, excellent films, you know, on their own. But
Right.
now this one, I don't know. What's your impression of my impression of The Day the Earth Stood Still is one of those movies that everybody's heard of, but my sense that asked a lot of people, and unless you're a science fiction fan, a lot of
Yeah.
people have not seen this movie.
That's true. It's so here's the thing about me though. So I have seen this film and I actually love this film.
Yeah.
But I took a mass media class in high school, which was excellent. And it took our teacher took us through essentially science fiction and fantasy novels and films, primarily films, from like all the way from like the 1920s all the way through to like 19, I don't know, I think it was the 90s that we ended up getting to, but yeah, the day the earth stood still was one of them, and it was great. And then I don't know, I loved its messaging, and the visuals were fantastic, and the characters. And then of course you got the famous what is it, what's the saying that he says to the robot?
Oh, yeah, Gord,
Klaatu,
Klaatu,
Nektu,
Nikto, or whatever.
Ratu, or something like that. Yeah.
Klaatu, I got a nick in my toe. Fix
Right.
it. Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's good. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
recommend it to
I
anybody.
mean,
Yeah.
I think you would agree. Some of these things now, it's a little Leave It to Beaver, from time to time, because it was
Right. I mean, it's the
time,
50s,
but
right?
it holds it very well. Yeah, intelligent, doesn't insult your intelligence.
Right.
Some of the effects and whatnot are, a little, they're not
Dated.
sophisticated, but
Yeah.
I think you get caught up in the story enough to to not worry about how Gort's knees
Gort,
bend in
that's
the
what it was.
back.
Yeah, Gort. That's right. No, but I mean, there's a real terror in that too, though. I remember, like, I mean, there's a real sense of like, when he
Yeah,
comes to warn everybody about, what is going to happen if we continue on this path. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, you better listen because some crap is going to go down, right? Like, so there, I like that sense of, I feel like in some ways that may be kind of an aspect missing. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but the movies I'm thinking of right now are not the best. What was that one about the global 2012, I think, or like the day, what was the other one? It was called something like that. It was like the last day, the day after tomorrow, or something like that, right? Like, which are all directed by the guy who did Independence Day,
Ronald Emmerich. Yeah.
Yeah. Roland Emmerich. Yeah.
It's
So there's definitely a pattern there. He's into disaster.
yeah, a pattern of cheesy movie making in my opinion.
I mean, it's arguably, yeah. I feel like they definitely got worse and worse. Wait, did we actually talk about Stargate? You've seen Stargate, right?
Stargate, yeah.
The movie.
That's another movie I would I saw it in the theaters when it first came out.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't put it on a list of and when I say excellent, I say a 4-star movie. I would not
4 stars or above.
I don't consider Stargate a 4-star movie. It's just too it's too clunky in spots, But again, another very, very enjoyable and fits well. A very different, a unique take on a science fiction story. Very, very well done in that respect, but not quite the cream of the crop. All
right, what else you got?
Here's another one that my sense is that most people, almost everybody's heard of this movie, but I've asked a lot of people and they've never actually seen it. I don't know what your sense of that is, but
no, it's accurate. Actually, you know what? I have a confession to make. I have not seen it yet either.
I was going to ask you. I wouldn't have been surprised if you had seen.
Well, it's always,
if not for that class. If not for that class, you might not have seen The Day the Earth Stood Still, right?
Right, that's true. Well, this one's always been on my radar, though.
Yeah.
I remember it was something that she talked about, but because we only had a certain amount of time in the semester, it was like, okay, we had to kind of pick and choose. But this was one that was on the list, I remember. And yeah, and it's always been on my watch list. It's kind of crazy because I always mean to watch it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I haven't seen this film yet. But tell me, like, so there are things I know about it that I really think are cool, right? Like, so there's the idea of this, they land on a I don't remember, do they crash land or is it just like they find
No,
this
no, 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 no.
planet and
Yeah,
then
they're there to rescue a colony of people that they just stopped hearing from.
okay.
So they're there on a rescue mission to they don't know if anybody's alive, but they
But there's
get.
like a monster or some kind of creature, right? That's trying
Oh
to
yeah, yeah. I don't.
kill them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Particularly since you haven't seen it. Yeah, you probably heard tell. You might have even seen
Right.
images, which is a total shame because it's kind of hard to avoid. You know, not
Yeah.
seeing some of those things because
Right.
yeah, the first time you see the invisible monster, it's pretty. I think it again, the whole film holds up very well, even though it's got some of those aw shucks kind of
Right.
interaction. Some of the humor is a little cornball, but as a
Sure.
overall film, yeah, it must have blew their socks off. It must have been like 2001 or Star Wars when it first
Right.
came out, but it didn't do all that well at the time. I think it was a
Yeah.
little bit too. People thought of science fiction as like, whoa, like what
Right.
is all of this philosophical? This is like too much. I just want to go to the movie and be entertained. So I think
Sure.
at the time, it wasn't a good. It just wasn't a good fit for the time. But yeah,
Right.
dude, yeah, yeah, I'm quite certain that you were going to really appreciate, um, not just what they did, visually, the visual storytelling aspect, but
Mhm.
kind of how sophisticated they got with some of the ideas. Yeah,
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Like I said, it's always been, and it's one of those films that a lot of the, like Lucas, Spielberg, I mean, they all mention it too as one of
oh
their like
yeah,
top, science fiction films. And yeah. So, like I said, it's always been on my list, but I have to
yeah.
eventually sit down and watch it
Well,
because I
again,
really want to. I
like
mean,
it's like to me, it's like you not having seen the Battlestar Galactica series.
yeah.
You've got some good science fiction in front of you, my man. So
Right, right, right. There's just so much though. Okay.
I know, I know,
All
but
right.
that's why I think it's good to go through some of what we consider the best, and it's obviously it's just my opinion, it's just your opinion, but
Right. Yeah.
again, as huge
This isn't,
science fiction fans, I think we have a little more discernment than the average person. So
yeah.
yeah,
And this is all
something to
about
pay attention
really,
to.
I see it as just a way as, we're just trying to really let people know, right? Like we're not
Yeah,
trying to say, oh, we're better than you because we're, hardcore science fiction nerds. Like that's not what we're trying to say, even though we are, but like that's a good thing. Like you're in good company. If that's what you are, then hey, this is where you need to be because we're here just talking about science fiction films and how much we
yeah,
love
and
them.
and again, I think the thing that grounds both of our sensibilities about all of this is the good storytelling. You need to have
Right,
more than just spectacular visuals, or you need to have more than the visuals to actually tell a good story.
right.
So
I mean, you
yeah.
gotta get
Again, if
character.
people have been kind of on the fence, it's like, well, that's an old '50s movie. I don't want to see those old '50s movies. It's
Oh
like,
man,
give it a try,
give it a
give it a
shot.
try, and
Yeah,
see if it doesn't become one of your favorite science fiction films.
yeah.
So
At least give it a
anyway,
shot. Exactly. I mean, this is the other thing too, is I mean, at least this one's in color because I've had so many people that I've talked to.
Oh, don't
No,
get on.
seriously, I've had so many people like in my generation that I try and get to watch these older films, and they're like, "Oh, it's black and white. I can't watch that." I'm like, "What? That has no bearing on whether it's a good film or not." You know what I mean? Like it. So it makes no sense. But like, there's a little bit of that some people have to get past.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
once you
It
do,
is.
I mean,
I can get that. Yeah, one
yeah,
of the I always appreciate when somebody comes out with a black and white film, and
yeah,
it's seen by a lot of people, because I think that when people actually see a good film in black and white, takes that into account when it's filmed.
hmm,
I mean, I loves me some black and white photography. It's so moody. This is jumping the gun a bit, but and we're going to get to the '60s now,
hmm.
and it's not the first one. Is it the first one up? Well, here's a perfect example. Okay, here we go into the '60s now, and
Well,
of
let's
course.
end with like because I really like the one you have here because this is one that I really enjoyed. Yeah, them. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So let
them.
me. So in the '60s, I think the ones that the obvious, big ones were 2001: A Space Odyssey, of course, and
Mhm.
Doctor Strangelove,
Yeah,
which I'm not
which
sure
are
a
both
bunch of people
Kubrick.
have seen, but my sense is that a lot of people have seen it, because it's not so much about science fiction. It's about, it's about other things as well.
Yeah,
If you didn't like science fiction, you could still like Doctor Strangelove. You know,
yeah.
it
I mean,
was
I would argue that's more of like a political comedy, you know,
yeah,
of sorts.
pretty
You know what I
trippy
mean?
though, right?
I
Kubrick
mean, it
did
is. Yeah,
Doctor
for sure.
Strangelove in the '60s and 2001, and then in the '70s he does A Clockwork Orange, right?
Right.
So he was on a roll there for a while. But
Yeah.
anyway, getting back to, so this is another one of those ones that I think a whole lot of people have heard of, but haven't necessarily seen. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is still the '50s.
'50s.
So let's wrap this
Yeah.
up.
This is the
Um,
'50s.
and it's not a great movie by any stretch, but it's really solid. And at times, the atmosphere, I could swear Ridley Scott has watched this movie, and the scene where they go into the shed where the ants have attacked, and you don't know what happened, and the
Yeah.
guys are all killed, and they got those swinging lights in the dark, dusty cabin, and the lights are swinging back and forth, and all you hear is the wind,
Right.
and then you hear that,
Right.
that
Yeah. The
that
ant.
sounds off
Oh
in the
yeah.
distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what the hell's going
Great.
on here?
Yeah. I mean, them is really like it's the blueprint for, a lot of those movies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alien,
yeah.
and then a lot of those from the '90s, like Tremors, and any of those like monster, like monsters coming from, they were radiated by our toxic waste, that kind of, it's the blueprint for that
Yeah.
type of a thing, which, sadly, I guess in some ways has become sort of more of a cheesy thing. But one of my favorite movies, just for fun factor, is Eight-Legged Freaks. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
basically it's this movie except spiders, right? Like it's the same, like, but it's like, and it's done in like a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, which is kind of fun. But I
No,
think
yeah,
this
I
movie
yeah,
kind of has
I
that too,
really enjoyed that.
you
It
know.
it 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 wasn't any more than what it was trying to be.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
a fun, goofy, yeah, yeah. I did really enjoy that. But that's, yeah, in a later decade. And
Oh,
to
here we
to
go.
finish off the '50s, 20 Million Miles to Earth, I think, was, again, it's not a great movie by any stretch, but as monster movies go, it had, the good science fiction theme that a rocket ship comes back from Venus, and these things grew on Venus somehow.
Right.
But yeah, the pacing and the reveals and some of the scenes are really pretty. Some of Harryhausen's best individual scenes, in my opinion. There's,
Mm,
of course, a scene where the thing starts growing. It starts, really small, and then it gets bigger
right.
faster. Right? Kind of sound
Yeah.
a little like Alien to you,
Yep. Exactly.
And there's a scene where this guy confronts it when it's about man-sized, and they're
Yeah.
in a barn, and
Hmm.
he's got a pitchfork, and oh man, that's I mean, it's still a very intense scene. Even today, I find it holds up very, very well.
It's great.
Have
I
you
mean, look,
seen this?
it's fantastic. I have seen parts of it, yeah, but
Yeah,
not the entire thing.
yeah, yeah. And again, it was in a slew of those monster type movies, but this one
Right.
was from outer space, so it had that going for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All
plus
right.
anything, I mean, every time I switched channels when I was younger, like it was like anything that you came across that was like Harryhausen, I mean, you had to stop and watch, right? Like
Oh,
even if I didn't know what the hell it was, I was just like, oh, I gotta watch this part because it's great.
no, yeah, I don't think I've ever told you this before, but I back in the day, I didn't I wanted to make films and do stories because I really wanted to be a stop motion animator. Seriously,
Hey, no, I'm serious. I
Harry
it's funny
Howden,
because
yeah, blew
yeah,
my mind, and
I wanted to do the same thing.
I
So
started
that's
doing
great.
some stop motion stuff. I had a Super 8 camera, and it had a
Yeah.
little cord that you could just take one frame at a time. Chick 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 chick, and
Yeah.
then and that's ultimately what I wanted to do until I got into drawing and comics, and I I wanted to be all kinds of things when I was
That's
a young lad.
right. I mean,
But,
that's the curse of the being creative, right? Like, because that
Har-
was the
oh,
thing. I wanted to do that too. It was like
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. You
had,
said that Star Wars was your like big
well, when I
inspiration.
was younger, I remember because I had all the figures. I had all these like Star Wars figures, and I would just do that with. I didn't even have the luxury of a film camera where I could do like the one shot at a time. I was using a digital like camcorder, so it was like, so I basically had to hit like record and then like stop and then you know what I mean. Every time like I would just be like do, and it was like super janky, but like
Yeah.
that was what I did back then. But yeah, and then there was a time where
Wow, that's
I
funny,
wanted
man.
to actually create like models like this. Like I actually created some, like I sculpted with like wireframes and the whole shebang, and I wanted to make a whole big movie, but that kind of fell apart because one of my other curses is that I just lack patience. So
Oh,
like I'm like I can't sit here and do this for hours, so that became one of my like, I have to have like instant gratification, or it's like
well,
well, I
no,
guess
this
this
is. I
isn't gonna.
mean, yeah, yeah. The stop motion.
Yeah, it's like and and I love the people that can do that, and like I said, I would love to still get into that because I think it's really fun. Some of the more recent, I know we're getting off topic, but like you've heard of a studio called Leica, I'm assuming, but they've done a lot of really good recent stop motion films, like Kubo and the Two Strings is one of them.
Well,
The
that's
Box Trolls.
that's traditional. Kubo and the Two Strings was traditional animation, wasn't it?
No, that's stop motion. That's what I'm saying. Like they're just so good. It's like
I
oh,
don't
that
know.
was all stop motion. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Um, and then of
yeah,
course
yeah.
Cartman.
There's people that, yeah, do it, yeah, quite well.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's amazing. Anyway, let's
Anyway, yeah.
continue.
So yeah, Harryhausen, big influence on a whole lot of people,
A hell
and
of a lot of people. Yeah.
in my opinion, this is this and Jason and the Argonauts, of course, which is
Right.
straight up fantasy, but still, those two, in my opinion, are his best.
Yep.
He's done a lot of good ones, but to my mind, those are some of the best. So anyway,
Ooh.
1960s,
Yeah,
Village
man.
of the Damned, the original. Now, the John Carpenter version I thought was pretty decent. I know it got crapped on quite a bit. A lot of people didn't like it, and I could never figure out why. It was, they tried to do something a little bit different, so it wasn't exactly the same story. But I thought it was quite good. But this one, and here's another example of I can't imagine this movie in color because
Right.
it's so striking in black and white. I mean, when those eyes light up for the first time, uh,
Yeah.
I think even today, it's like, yeah, that's pretty
It's
creepy.
it's unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's and this is another one that I've only ever seen parts of. I remember seeing the remake, but I barely remember it because I think I saw it when I was too young and it freaked me the hell out.
yeah.
So, but yeah, this one I think is even creepier because I remember seeing parts of it on TV and I just like could not sit through it because I was like, okay, this is creeping me out too much.
So you
But
haven't. So here's another one
there's
that
another one. Yeah.
even you haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
it's
honestly didn't know it was purely like science fiction. I didn't know. I thought it
well,
was
it's
more
not.
like
I mean,
but
purely science fiction. It's kind of more Lovecraftian,
okay.
but it is about these children who are, divinely, you know, the inception, immaculate conceptions in this one village,
Hmm.
and they all are, they're aliens,
Yeah.
whether it's some demonic force or it's from some cosmic intelligence. I don't think they ever get too far into that. They're
Okay.
clearly very, very different. And to me,
Yeah.
that's a great science fiction, speculative fiction uh, kind of a plot that
Right.
I think they did pretty well. It's slower than a lot of people might enjoy, but I think if you stuck with it by the end, you would go, yeah, that was pretty solid.
Cool. All right.
All right, now also in the 60s, this is the Francois Truffaut's Fahrenheit 451. Now
Okay.
I know that they've remade it. I haven't
Yeah.
seen any of the remakes because I think I heard that they were just not good. So I just never bothered. This is
Okay.
another film. I don't think it's a great film by any stretch. I'm not like it would maybe barely get a 4 star for me just because the overall story when it's at the end, um, it was very worth watching, and it's not like the book. um,
Right.
I think doing a direct translation of the book would be a little too, because the book is it's a strange one from Bradbury. It's really good, but it's got it's almost a satire at times because things
Mhm.
are so exaggerated. And Bradbury liked doing those allegorical kind of
Right.
stories. So
Mhm.
this was a very decent attempt at trying to translate the ideas in Fahrenheit 451 into a more mainstream kind of a plot. And for the most part, I think it succeeds very well.
Cool.
Is this another one you haven't actually seen?
Have not seen it. I have not seen any version of this actually.
Yeah, and you've never read the book?
Nope.
Nope. Yeah, that's um,
Foreign to
again,
me.
it is of a time, so
Right.
there's certain aspects that are, you
I
know,
want to see it. I mean, I'm a Truffaut fan. I've seen, his other more dramatic films like The 400 Blows and oh man, what's the other one? So I like a lot of his stuff, but I didn't really know he got into science fiction actually. Is this before? or is this kind of after his? Because this is in the '60s, right?
Yeah, this is in the 60s. I don't know the exact. I should have put the exact dates on the years, but I think it was about mid 60s ish. But yeah, so I would think that it was after 400 Blows, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't. There's a lot of Truffaut's films that I have not seen, but
Right.
yeah, since we're sticking with science fiction,
Science fiction.
I don't
Yeah.
know that he
This is
did
cool. I mean,
any.
this is one I
I don't
definitely
know that
want
he
to
did
check out.
anything else
Yeah.
in science fiction.
This is definitely one that I want to check out for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, that's worth seeing. Again, not. I don't consider it a great movie. I think it barely gets 4 stars for me because it's not it's clunky in spots, but the
Yeah.
overall story I think is quite well done. Here's another one. I'm gonna bet you haven't seen this one either, and it's a not it. I wouldn't even give this next one a 4 star, but I think it deserves to be on the list again.
Well, here I've actually,
Another Ray Bradbury,
yeah, I've
right?
seen so much of it uh been made fun of, which is really funny to think about.
No, with good reason. Yeah, the Illustrated
Um,
Man
but
is
yeah,
a Bradbury. It's well, Bradbury did this with a number of things, like I, Robot. It was
yeah,
considered a novel, but it's essentially a bunch of short
short
stories.
stories, right?
You
Exactly.
know, even the Martian Chronicles. Same thing. There's kind
Yeah,
of a wraparound story, but it's basically a bunch of short stories. And this has real issues as far as being a cohesive kind of a story. Like it gets a little bizarre for no particular reason, but some of these stories in there are some of the moodiest portrayals of a science fiction idea that I've ever seen. So that's why I put it on this list.
nice. It's one that's on my list to watch too, because I've heard, the bad things, but I'm still really interested. Obviously, I think the performances by Rod Steiger, I think, is one of those you got to watch it at least for that. And then
Oh
I
yeah,
forget
yeah.
who the other guy is. Wasn't there
Yeah,
another guy in there?
he's a madman in this one.
Right, right, right. I mean, it's like,
But
yeah,
he also plays characters in I
right,
don't know if it's every story, most of the stories. Anyway, I can't entirely remember. He's in a lot of the stories as well. So
right.
it's this whole thing throughout the film. Is this really this guy? It's been like going back and forth through time. What's up with this guy? And you
Right,
never really find out
right, right, right.
because you weren't necessarily meant to find out. So yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't entirely work, but it's worth a look for particularly a few of the stories. I think are quite well done.
Hmm.
So that's all I could come up with the 60s that I thought most people haven't seen. Now getting into the 70s, starting to get a few more here. Um, Again, some of the ones that I think most people have seen: A Clockwork Orange, Star Wars, the first Star Wars, obviously, Alien, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing,
Well, that
Close
was
and
82.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
Yep.
Pitch Black. That was a that was a that
Pitch
was a pretty
Black.
good decade for science fiction.
Wait, so is that a Pitch Black? I thought there was one that was called, wasn't there Pitch Black from like the 90s or early 2000s? Is that related to that one or?
Um, oh yeah, what am I doing? I put it.
Is that, oh, you're talking about, okay, never mind then.
Yeah, no. Thanks for pointing that out. I don't know why I have it in the because that came out in I
Because
don't
you're
know
talking about the Vin
two
Diesel one.
thousands. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
my
Okay,
bad,
okay.
my bad.
And then the
Why do I
thing
have that?
was, yeah, the thing was 82, I think, 81. So that's
Yeah, and
technically
the thing
80s,
was
but
the 80s. I don't know what I was thinking.
But yeah,
Okay.
actually, I was looking at your list here, and I haven't seen any of these either. But again, they are on my list to watch.
Watch. Okay.
So
Well,
I've
this
had them there. It's just
yeah,
that
this is
like I've never actually wait, Invasion I may have seen. I've seen the older one, the one from the 50s, I think, or Invasion
yeah.
of the Body
I
Snatchers.
think it's the 50s. It might have been early 60s. The
Yeah.
black and white one.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But this is the Brian De Palma, right? Or am I thinking of somebody else? No, not Brian De Palma. It's who is it?
Who is it, like Schlesinger or somebody?
Um no, who's that other guy that oh man, his name was like on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot.
Yeah, yeah. And anyway, that's I mean that's on the list of that's on my list of uh, ones that I don't think a lot of people have seen. So I'm gonna jump one ahead. Well, let's just start at the beginning here. Here, let's just go through these.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse 5. Have you seen that one?
All right, sorry, I was looking this up. Oh, Philip Kaufman, directed by.
Oh, Philip Kaufman. I think he wrote it too, right?
Did he? Hold on, let's see.
Co-wrote it.
No, not on here. It says W.D. Richter and Jack Finney.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good one. So we'll get to that one. Yeah, after this one. This is
All right, cool.
what I had is. Have you seen Slaughterhouse 5?
No.
Yep. There you
Haven't
go.
seen that one
Good.
either.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I think it holds up really, really well. And yeah, it's a pretty singular movie. You've seen the themes done before, but not quite like this. It's a very, I thought a very intimate kind of time travel movie that was more about the idea. Uh, it wasn't just the idea of time travel. It was like, how would it really affect this central character? So yeah, super worth seeing. And then, of course, yeah, Philip Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatcher, which I think is way better than the original. The original is decent, but yeah, I thought this was much better. Have you seen this one? Have you seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Oh no. Yeah, we just talked about that. No, I haven't. Not this one. No.
Okay, I couldn't remember. You saw the original.
Yeah. But that original, can you go back to that image? Because the other one, what was it for? Slaughterhouse 5?
Slaughterhouse
It
5.
reminded me of another movie that I don't think is on your list that I really enjoyed with Bruce Dern. It's from the 70s. Silent Running. Have you seen that one? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Douglas Trumbull might have seen Slaughterhouse 5.
Right. So well, that's my point. It's like I really got to see this now because it's kind of giving me those vibes. But okay, cool.
Yeah. There was a time where the geodesic dome was a fairly new. I mean, it's been around, for a very long time, but it got popularized at a certain period, and it was kind of
the 70s.
Yeah, often used for look at how science fiction this is.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, look how cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, you got to see that one, and this one. I'll bet you haven't seen. This was directed by Nicholas Meyer, and I didn't do the research, but my sense is that this was the only other film other than Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan that was a science fiction film by him. I could be wrong, but I think
he did The Undiscovered Country too. Later.
Oh, yeah, it was that. That was okay. That was you're right.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember, because this is that was one of the reasons why I want to see this film is because it was Nicholas Meyer, but this was prior to his Star Trek, right?
Yeah. This is the 70s now, right?
Oh yeah, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just funny that in the same year, and Malcolm McDowell plays H.G.
Oh,
Wells.
okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Malcolm
by
McDowell.
the way, I should probably put titles on this for some. I'm gonna put a list of all of these films in the comments after this is all said and done. So if people want to come back and just get the list, but yeah, this movie is called Time After Time. Uh, I thought a fantastic premise where H.G. Wells goes goes forward into the future, um, and has his own time has his own time travel adventure. It sounds kind of goofy in a way, but I just thought it was really really well done. And Malcolm McDowell plays this very proper English gentleman because he's of the time, and
Right.
he's up against the uh, the more modern sensibilities and the feminism, and he has this wonderful relationship with Mary Steenburgen in the film, and it's just a great fish out of water story.
Mhm.
It's a romance. It's pretty creepy at times because there's the person he's chasing is Jack the Ripper, so he's trying
Mm,
to, right? I mean,
okay.
it's a crazy concept, but I thought it worked really, really well. And so Malcolm McDowell plays a very, very, meek, mild, proper, and in the same decade, he plays, the main guy in Clockwork Orange,
Right.
a completely,
Yeah.
degenerate.
I mean, it just shows his range. I mean, he's a great actor, so.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
anyway,
yeah.
that's a good one for show.
All right,
All
cool.
right, that's all I got for the 70s. All
Okay.
right, now for the 80s, of course, we had the big ones: the Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back,
Right.
Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan,
The
we just talked
Thing,
about,
right?
Aliens, the sequel,
Aliens, right? We got
um,
Terminator. We got there's a
yeah,
lot in the 80s actually.
Terminator, The Fly,
The Fly, right? The
yeah.
remake. Actually, that was probably one we should talk about too, is because the original is pretty great, I think. But
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I debated whether to put the original The Fly on here, and now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should. Yeah, I agree. The original is quite good.
yeah.
I really really like Cronenberg's The Fly,
Oh
except
yeah.
for I do think he didn't stick the landing for me. He went into another one of his let's show as much body horror as
Body
humanly
horror.
possible.
Yeah.
I just thought it went too far. It was such a an intimate kind of relationship between him and Gina Davis, and
Yeah.
the experience for himself, and then it turned into a splatterfest at the end. I thought he kind of ruined his own movie. Not ruined,
Yeah, not ruined, but
but
no,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
really didn't. So The Fly, I can't quite give it a 4 stars because of the ending. The first
Yeah, that's fair.
3/4 of the movie, 4 stars, easy, hands down. And by the end, I was just kind of going, "Oh, dude, why did you do this? Why? Why?
Right.
It didn't fit with anything else. You know,
Yeah. Right.
it just got too extreme." So anyway, so
But I
those are
mean
some of that. Yeah, I mean the
that's
80s,
Cronenberg, right?
yeah, Cronenberg.
That's Cronenberg.
To,
All
for
right.
my mind, the my favorite Cronenberg science fiction one. Well, there's one later on, and I'm curious to see if you've seen it. But to me, the obvious one is Videodrome. Uh, but
Mm,
I think a lot of people have seen Videodrome, or I might have put it on the list.
yeah, I don't
But
think it's on your list. It's on my list.
yeah, because I think that again, my sense is that a lot of people have seen it. I think it got kind of a cult following. So my
Yeah.
sense is that a lot of people have seen that one. I could be wrong. All right, but anyway, so here's some of the ones I think a lot of people have not seen. This one was the sequel to 2001, 2010. And
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most criminally underrated science fiction movies of all time. I thought this was a really good story. Hands
Yeah.
down.
Okay.
Have you
I
seen it?
need to rewatch it then because I think
Didn't
I
you?
was bored out of my mind when I watched it for some reason.
Really?
Um, so I only have bad memories of it, but this was a while ago. Like I haven't seen it in probably over 20 years, I think, at this point. So I probably should rewatch it just to kind of see how it holds up because I probably wasn't in the right, mindset. But yeah, when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, like why is this still going? But
Really?
um
Huh.
I really wanted to like it because I love what's his face? The actor, Roy Scheider. Yeah, I love Roy Scheider. And I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. And then, I didn't get into it, but like I said, I should probably rewatch it too, because I haven't seen it in a while. But
Yeah,
at the time,
I would encourage you to do that because yeah, I would just be very surprised if you give it a rewatch if you don't go, man, yeah, that was. I mean, I thought across the board the pacing and everything that's what struck me so. I was so surprised to hear you say that you found it boring. I guess
yeah,
I can see that. But anyway, I didn't find it boring like at all. I can kind of see where some people would think that, but anyway, I strongly encourage you to rewatch
cool.
it and see if it doesn't become one of your faves.
Yeah, no,
Or
I'll definitely rewatch it. Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Right? Like I mean,
Of course, you gotta have
most
this.
I
Yeah,
think most people have heard of it and agree that it's a really good movie. But I know a lot of people just haven't seen it.
haven't seen it, or at least haven't seen the version that is meant to be seen. Right, like
Oh yeah,
the
there you go.
yeah, because a
Right.
lot of people I think know the happy ending or whatever the heck it's called, like the love conquers all version,
Yeah.
which is generally what's shown on TV, or at least it used to be. I don't know if they've changed that now
Yeah,
because there was some kind of legal.
careful what you say in
No, I
case.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
But there was some legal stuff that I remember that yeah, there's a whole thing. But yeah, if you guys want to know more, like research Terry Gilliam's Brazil. There's a lot of backstory behind the scenes of how the movie was made and then how it was released, and it's pretty fascinating actually.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it kind of reminded me in a way of David Lynch's experience with Dune.
Oh yeah,
Again, I really like it.
I love it. Yeah,
I completely understand how people would just be lost. I mean, I had already read the book, so I knew the story.
yeah,
So if you'd never read the book, didn't know anything about the world or anything, yeah, you'd be like, I don't know what's happening. So
well,
I get that, but
yeah,
we'll just never know what the 3 hour version of
right,
Lynch, what Lynch wanted to release. We'll just never know.
right. And to be fair, like I've never read Dune, but I really enjoyed that movie. So
Yeah, I
maybe it just
can't.
depends. I don't know.
Yeah, I for me, I think we might have talked about this. If a movie's coming out for a science fiction story that I haven't read, I
Mhm.
will not watch the movie until I read the novel. I
Oh
did that.
really? Okay.
I did that with The Watchmen. I've done it for. I can't think of the other examples, but yeah, to me, you got to read. You got to read the original source material and then see the adaptation. Yeah, I mean, you
Mm.
don't have to, but
Yeah, but that's good
when you
advice though.
read a book,
Makes
the
sense.
book takes many hours to
Right.
consume, and so if you already know the story, it seems like reading the book. Like if you read Dune now, I don't know that you would ever, get the impact of the story because you just know the plot so well.
Right.
But you might give it a shot and see. I'd be curious. Let's do an experiment. Let's
Sure.
do an experiment with Anthony. Anthony, at
Do
some
it.
point, you must read Dune.
I will
And
read Dune.
tell me if you really, really liked it or thought, yeah.
Sure. Let's do it.
Eh, cool. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? There's uh Jurassic Park. We were talking about that earlier. That's
Mhm.
actually one where I saw the movie first, obviously, but then I went back to read the book because I was like, oh, I really want to get more of this stuff. But like, I was so disappointed by the book. I was just like, have you ever read it? Because it's just like,
No.
like
Again, I saw
it's
the
not
movie.
great.
I watched the movie, so I
But
thought, uh, you know,
yeah.
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
Jaws too is another one. That's an example of like, I don't know if it's something about Spielberg taking these movies and actually making them better than the source material, which again, Jaws is just not a great book. So he saw something in that and really made it into something beyond the source material. So I like that, but yeah, it's kind of hard when you like watch a movie and then like you were saying, like, and then try to read the book and then you're like, this isn't
Yeah.
this isn't what
It's kind of
yeah, it's
hard
like
to get past all that. Yeah.
right, yeah. All
Okay.
right.
So we're all already over an hour here. I thought we would do another live cast for the 2000s, the
Another
2010s,
episode.
and anything up to start. You want to
Yeah.
try to, but let's try to buzz through the 90s and just see how far we get. If we go too far, I'll just, call it a close. But
All right. Let's
let's
go.
see if we can get through the
Speed,
90s. Okay. And
speed
again,
run.
I think
All right.
some of the biggies that most people have seen: Terminator 2, Judgment Day,
Of course. Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
Some of my favorite, one of my all-time
Independence Day.
favorite, 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys.
Right.
Yes.
The Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. Oh my God. I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's a movie that I feel like, even though it was pretty big and very, it's like, I feel like a lot of people haven't. I'm like, how could you not have seen this? It's Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich. It's got Chris Tucker. It's so great. It's got
You did.
out with my kids and they loved it. And it was just like, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh yeah. To me, it's one of the most watchable movies I've
yeah.
ever seen in my life. Me
Yeah.
and my wife, when we lived in Huntington Beach, we saw it in the theaters, and it did not do well. It did not do well originally, and then I think it was like one of those movies like The Thing. It got discovered later, and everybody was going, "Oh, why didn't more people see this?" But
Right.
yeah, and it would replay on one of the on HBO or whatever it was, and we'd watch 5 minutes of it and wind up watching the whole movie.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, we absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of those. Yeah, you can't just like watch a bit. You got to watch the whole thing because it's just so good. But yeah.
I mean, some people found the Chris Tucker character too annoying, and I get that. I thought he was just, for the style of the movie, I thought he couldn't have played it better.
Right.
Exactly.
It's so good.
That was a big one. Starship Troopers was another one that I think a lot of people seen and have high regard for. And of course, The Matrix.
And of course, I mean, yeah. Boom. What a way to end the 90s and also just a way to end the century. Like The Matrix, man. That's
up there with one of the most mind-blowing reveals that you've ever seen. Still holds up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's fantastic. It's such a good.
All right, so here's the ones that a lot of people may not have seen. Oh, God dang it!
Akira.
Sorry, man. This was yeah. I'm running a tight ship around here. This was
Is
the
the
last
80s?
one from. This was the last one from the '80s. Is
Yeah,
Akira? I
Akira.
I think a lot of people have heard of it, maybe seen bits here and there, but I have a sense that a lot of people haven't actually seen it, and it's absolutely worth watching.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
So anyway, so here's the '90s that
Here we
I
go.
think most people haven't seen are very worth it.
Here we
This
go.
is a French film called Delicatessen.
I've heard of this. I haven't
You
seen
heard of
it.
it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I've heard of it.
It's just I mean
It
it's
looks like insane. Like I want to see it based on this
yeah.
image
You
right
said
here.
you liked The Fifth Element. That
Yeah,
was by a Frenchman. The
right?
French, the French, they know how to do the satire very well. Yeah, no, I just thought this was
Dear
just
God.
yeah, just such a fun
That just
movie. You know, it's a dystopian future, but it's just it's just so much fun. I highly
I think
recommend this
you
one,
were
even though you got to read subtitles. You know.
you were channeling Tommy Wiseau for a second there.
Yeah. This one could
That
be
was
a bit
good.
divisive. I don't consider this a. I probably wouldn't give this 4 stars, but I liked it enough to include the Puppet Masters, based on
Puppet
a
Masters.
Heinlein
Okay.
novel, which I did read
Yeah.
way back when, and it's got some issues, but overall I thought it was just very worth seeing. I think it holds up for the most part, even though you know some things don't quite land very well. And the depiction of the puppet masters, the aliens, is
Mhm.
pretty well done. So if you haven't seen that, I give that a recommend.
Nice.
This was one
There was
right
one I want to throw out. There
right
was one I
before
want to throw
2000.
out from the 80s that I forgot to mention, which was They Live, another John Carpenter movie. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah.
You remember that one?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that my sense is that got a huge following.
Was it? Because I thought it was one of his ones that was kind of
No, yeah, when it first came out, it
yeah,
bombed.
yeah, yeah,
A lot of them. Again, like the Fifth Element
yeah.
bombed when it
Right,
came. I mean, like bombed, and then it became very well known, and people discovered it. My
right,
sense
right,
is
right.
that They Live is one of those, like The Thing, also didn't do well at all, but I
Yeah.
think it grew a following. So, no, I agree. Yeah, They Live. Yeah, very good. Have you seen Strange Days?
Strange Days. No, this is Catherine
Bigelow.
Bigelow. Yeah. No, I haven't. Again, it's on my list to watch,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no.
very solid. I think this one's highly underrated. I found it yeah quite good, and again a very unique take on some ideas that have been done before. So
Mhm.
I'll leave it at that. Yeah, cool,
And this
quite
was
good.
who's the writer? Because isn't this based on something or is it
Um,
original?
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I assumed it was a an original screenplay, not based. I didn't get that it was an adaptation, but I could be wrong. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
okay. I could be thinking of something else, but I
Yeah.
thought it was a what do you call it? God, who's that writer? He did Blade Runner and the
Oh, Philip K.
Spanish
Dick.
Army. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was I thought it was one of the Philip K. Dick stories, but maybe not.
I don't think so. I
Okay.
haven't read a whole lot of Philip K. Dick, but yeah, I just don't remember that. But I could be wrong. But yeah, it's kind of got that kind of a style to it. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very good. You should watch it. Here's a Cronenberg movie that I think a lot of people have
Yeah, I'm
not
like, what
seen.
the hell is this? I want to know what this is. That's Jude Law, right?
Yep, Existence.
Exist. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. This is one I've heard of, though. Yeah, 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 for sure.
Jennifer Jason Lee, and there's
Okay.
others, but yeah, Jude
That's
Law and Jennifer Jason Lee. Yeah,
right.
I can. see how some people thought it was just a little bit too abstract in a sense. But yeah, I just thought it was really solid, very different. It's got some of Cronenberg's, a little bit of his body horror stuff. You can see him. Jude Law is holding this organic gun made out of
Right.
bone, fires teeth,
Yeah,
right?
it looks crazy. That
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
insane.
But but it's about a virtual reality game mostly,
Nice. Okay.
and it goes into it. So yeah, I want you can't say too much about it,
Oh
but
man,
yeah, highly recommended. I think it's one of Cronenberg's best, and it's one of his least known.
I
But
gotta watch it.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. This looks good. Oh,
uh,
Jennifer Jason Lee. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
nice. Oh wow.
This,
Okay.
this one, we remember. I mean, The Arrival, Denis Villeneuve's The Arrival, that came out, just a few years ago or so. This
Hmm.
is another movie called The Arrival with Charlie Sheen
Charlie Sheen. That's right.
before he went ballistic.
My yeah.
And
My
it's really solid. It's a really rousing kind of alien invasion story.
yeah. Again, I haven't seen this one. I want to see it. It's actually one of my uncle's favorite movies. And I remember him always watching it, but I never I never like stopped to watch it with him. But yeah, I definitely need to watch this.
Yep, that's another one. Yeah, yeah, very,
If I can
very.
get past the Charlie Sheen ness of it, I guess.
No, Charlie Sheen is. I mean, Charlie Sheen used to be pretty good actor, at one time, and he's a
Yeah,
real good. He's like a Tom Cruise ish kind of character. He used to be able to play. He can't do it anymore. He used to be able to play the everyman,
the everyman.
and
That's what
he
I'm wondering, like, because I
he
only
just
know him
can't do
from
that
like
anymore.
comedies. Yeah, 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 yeah. I always
And
think of him as just like hot shots,
yeah,
but
yeah. All right, and this
oh, here
this
we go.
one, I think we
Gattaca.
talked about this. Yeah,
Yes.
Gattaca.
This
Um,
one's great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, very, very solid. Kind of a quiet, thoughtful story, but
Mhm.
yeah, emotionally very powerful take on what a future could be like, where your genetics determines how well you do in life. I mean,
Yep.
it was a cool message and I thought very, very engaging story. So you've seen this one.
I've seen this one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This one's
Do you
great.
agree?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. Love it.
And I know we agree
Oh,
on this one. This is
yeah.
my
This
last
one,
the last
oh,
one from the 90s.
it's good.
Criminally
I know it is.
underseen,
Yeah.
criminally underrated. And one
Yep.
thing I want to dispel right off the top, right? A lot of people I've heard, right, look at this and go, "Oh, they just stole this from they stole the look from the Matrix." This came
Right.
out the year before the Matrix.
Or yep,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. This is a to me equally mind blowing kind of a science fiction plot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think extremely, extremely well done.
It's so good. Yeah. Just the visuals too. I mean, oh man, the lighting, the cinematography, the
Oh,
set design.
yeah, so good.
Yeah, everything's just so good in this. So yeah, if there's yeah, I would say for me, like if there's any movie that you should watch right now that you haven't seen on this list, it should be this one, Dark City. That's my 2 cents. Obviously, I think everyone should watch all these movies, but yeah, Dark City though is like uh, it's
Yeah,
so
I think it's amongst all the ones that we've talked about. Yeah, I think this is yeah, probably up in like the top five ones that like
yeah.
you might not see everyone, but make this one of them.
Make this exactly. Yeah, 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 for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, like you could pass on Charlie Sheen in The Arrival,
Right,
as long as you see this one. Yeah.
right, exactly.
No, but before we go, is there any other ones that you can think of that I might have missed? Any other because I'm sure there's a bunch of them that I missed. I thought I did a pretty thorough job of researching, but I'm sure I've missed some of them.
Well, it depends on, again, like how science fiction-y it is, but there was one that I remember. I don't know how popular it was. I'm assuming it was probably more popular. So, but Swamp Thing, the original Swamp Thing. Do you remember that?
The
Based on a comic, but it's got I think, science fiction elements, like with like the doctor and like
one with Adrienne Barbeau.
No, like the original, the OG from, I think it's from the 70s.
You talking about the comics?
70s or 80s. No, like the actual, like the movie.
The movie with Adrienne Barbeau?
I don't know if that's the actor's name. Hold on.
Yeah, she played the love interest. If it's the same movie I'm thinking about, yeah, I didn't care for it.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was just far too cheesy. But again, I had read the original, the Bernie Wrightson drawn
82.
series. Len Wein was writing it. It was,
Yeah, I mean, the series is great. The movie is pretty great too, though. Like, you didn't like that? I don't know. I thought it was good.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Wes Craven. Boom. There we go.
Yeah, Wes Craven.
1982,
yeah,
actually.
I say it's not John Carpenter. It's
No.
No,
Yeah, Swamp Thing, I think, is
yeah.
underrated and probably should be rewatched. And then there's another one that I had. Hold on, let's see. Well, this is from, I think, early 2000s, so maybe we can hold off on it till next time. But yeah, there's, I don't know, there's something about that. Sam Raimi, Darkman, 92, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that I wouldn't consider that science fiction. I mean, and any more than I would consider, because I think for me, one of the best early comic book type films was the Hulk, Ang Lee's direction.
Oh yeah. That one is actually, that's pretty underrated.
I thought that was very underrated, but I wouldn't consider that a particularly good science fiction story, even though it's kind of used as that was my whole thing about Marvel. They use the science fiction element as just the very beginning, and then everything after that wasn't good science fiction. It was action adventure. There, again, nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a good action adventure, but I don't consider it. To me, it's like the same thing as using radioactivity to have the latest, big monster, big tarantula, big praying mantises, big,
right.
It didn't think it was a particularly good use of the premise. But I love Darkman. I thought it was a really fun movie.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I would put on my list, but yeah.
Yeah. All
right. Cool,
man. Yeah. So we'll set this up for the future to do the
do we have any I can't join the chat or anything. Do we have any comments or questions or anything? Or
I'm not seeing any.
It's dead.
Not seeing
Nobody's
any
watching us right now.
There's probably like nobody watching this.
Do you have a yeah, I know, right? Do you have like a counter? Does it tell you if there's people watching or anything? Or
no, that the I don't know about that, because I'm watching it on StreamYard, not YouTube.
No.
So hopefully there could be some people watching and just
are we
commenting, but no, I have to do a much better job of promoting it. I just put a thing up today about tonight. I'm doing a lousy job of promoting these things. I'll do better in the future. But this stuff will be up there, and then when this is done, I do kind of a recap, and I edit this down to something more like 20-25 minutes So it'll be up for people to watch. So
Yeah. Sorry, I'm watching it on YouTube now. So
oh, you're watching it on YouTube now? Oh,
yeah, I just was curious. So yeah, there's no comments right now. There's nobody in the
yeah, no
chat. It's
comments.
just
Yeah,
one
and
person watching, which
I
is
don't know
probably
if
me. So
yeah,
yeah.
does it say who's watching?
No, but it's probably me though.
Well, I hope you're watching.
Okay. Well, you know what? This is fun, and I don't care who watches it or not. Are
Yeah,
you
we don't care who watches. Yeah, we
fine?
still like science
We're just
fiction.
recording this for posterity's sake anyway, right? Like this.
No, I think that this kind of stuff, hopefully people will pick up down the road because I think it's always worth talking about.
Oh
And
yeah.
from time to time, we may revive a lot of these things. Months from now,
Right.
might do another revisit because that's something I really want to impart on people who really like good storytelling, but aren't necessarily science fiction fans. I'm really wanting people to try some of these stories that they may not have seen, and see if they don't become science fiction fans after they see some better examples,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all we want.
That's all. We don't
All
ask
right,
them.
man.
All right, dude. All right, thanks for being on this again.
All
We'll
right.
we'll certainly have you back on again to do the 2000s and the 2010s.
Appreciate it.
So until
Yeah.
that next time, man,
All
I'll
right.
see you on the next one.
All right. Peace.
All right, man. See ya.
Yeah.